Mr. Adams, did you ever talk to Stephen Miller before you filed the memorandum on February 10th ordering the dismissal of the Adams charges?
Senator, I responded to Senator Kennedy's questions based on a publicly filed document that described the Attorney General as a...
Did you talk to Stephen Miller?
I'm not going to describe the participants in conversations.
So you won't answer that question?
No, I will not, Senator.
Why?
Because it is not appropriate for me to discuss...
It is appropriate for you to tell us whom you consulted before taking action on behalf of the United States of America. You have no basis to avoid that question, Mr. Bove.
Respectfully, Senator, I'm answering that question in a manner similar to several nominees before me, including Judge Katz's.
Did you talk to anyone in the White House, including the president, about dismissal of the Adams charges before the February 10th memorandum?
I respectfully refer you back to my answer, Senator.
I am absolutely flabbergasted that you would come before this committee and refuse to tell us basic facts about a case that is at the core of the challenges to the appearance of impropriety that should disqualify you.
Hello, Patriots. Today, we're diving into one of the most critical battles for the future of our courts and the rule of law. The radical left, with the help of their media lapdogs, is launching an all-out smear campaign against Emil Boie, President Trump's nominee for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. This is about more than just one man. This is about defending America's judicial system from political weaponization and ensuring that qualified, principled leaders are not destroyed by lies and partisan attacks. If you're tired of the left's hypocrisy, their attacks on fairness, and their constant attempts to tear down anyone who stands for traditional values, you're in the right place. Stick with me, Patriots, because today we're exposing the truth and standing up for what's right. While you're here, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and leave a comment below about how you're fighting back against the left's corruption. Together, we're taking back our country. Let's talk about Emil Boie, a man with impeccable qualifications and a proven track record of defending America. He graduated at the top of his class from Georgetown Law, clerked for respected federal judges, and spent nearly a decade as a federal prosecutor. He's handled cases that most people couldn't even imagine, taking down terrorists, drug traffickers, and even domestic threats. His work helped secure convictions against national security threats like the Chelsea bomber and domestic terrorists who targeted prominent Democrats. But instead of focusing on his qualifications, the left is doing what they always do, smearing his name and twisting the facts. They've launched a coordinated attack, accusing Boie of everything from political retribution to ignoring court orders. None of it holds up, and even the so-called whistleblower behind these claims has contradicted his own story in court documents. This is nothing but a desperate attempt to block a highly qualified nominee because he doesn't fit their radical agenda.
Senator White House raised this so-called deliberative process privilege. First, this committee and Congress have never accepted that kind of assertion as a basis to evade questioning in this kind of confirmation hearing. But I'd like to point out also that this witness has no right to invoke that privilege. It's a privilege for the government of the United States to invoke. Now, I notice that the Deputy Attorney General is sitting right behind the witness. I didn't hear the Deputy Attorney General invoke this privilege on behalf of the government of the United States. And I might point out also that the witness is invoking it selectively. When he wants to answer the question, no privilege. When he wants to avoid answering the question, he says he's not at liberty to answer it. We've never accepted that kind of tactic on the part of a witness. Yes, nominees have sometimes said they can't comment on a case or an issue because it may come before them as a judge. But this kind of selective invoking of a privilege smacks of evasion and defiance, and I think reflects on us as a committee if we accept it in this context, Mr. Chairman. So I hope that the witness may be instructed to answer these questions, or we can have a resolution somehow on the legitimacy of this kind of privilege and ask the witness to come back. Let me begin my questioning.
Mr. Chairman, I think the clock was started on Senator Blumenthal while he made his point of order. It might be a courtesy to allow it to be. Thank you. There it is.
I hadn't noticed that, Mr. Chairman, but I thank Senator Whitehouse for pointing it out. Thank you.
Let me say in the future,
Mr. Bove,
White House made very clear the issues you're bringing up, and I said I'm willing to discuss them. But
Thank you.
We can't take the time of this committee to hear a repeat of everything from every member that would disagree with what I said in my opening statement.
I appreciate
Go ahead, Senator
your
Blumenthal.
point, Mr. Chairman. I'll begin my questioning. Mr. Bove, you responded to Senator Kennedy's questions about who was consulted about the dismissal of charges against Mr. Adams. Did you ever talk to Stephen Miller before you filed the memorandum on February 10th ordering the dismissal of the Adams charges?
Senator, I responded to Senator Kennedy's questions based on a publicly filed document that described the Attorney General as a...
Did you talk to Stephen Miller?
I'm not going to describe the participants in conversations.
So you won't answer that question?
No, I will not, Senator.
Why?
Because it is not appropriate for me to discuss...
It is appropriate for you to tell us whom you consulted before taking action on behalf of the United States of America. You have no basis to avoid that question, Mr. Bove.
Respectfully, Senator, I'm answering that question in a manner similar to several nominees before me, including Judge Katzen.
Did you talk to anyone in the White House, including the president, about dismissal of the Adams charges before the February 10th memorandum?
I respectfully refer you back to my answer, Senator.
I am absolutely flabbergasted that you would come before this committee and refuse to tell us basic facts about a case that is at the core of the challenges to the appearance of impropriety that should disqualify you. You have the opportunity to clear the air, to come clean with the American people as well as this committee, and you are evading and avoiding these questions.
Senator, if you have a question about the position that I took in public with respect to the Mayor Adams case, I'm happy to address it, and I've addressed several today.
Well, I have asked you a question that bears on the appearance of impropriety. Let me go on. Mr. Bove, in court, you represented, first, that there was no quid pro quo, but you said that the decision, even if there were a quid pro quo, was unreviewable. Unreviewable by the court. Do you stand by that?
I don't think that's what I said, Senator, because it's not consistent with the rule, which explicitly provides...
Well, you said it not only once, but you said it a number of times, and the judge observed, Judge Ho said, that your position was, quote, fundamentally incompatible with the basic promise of equal justice under law. That's what he said about your position, that the decision to dismiss these charges was unreviewable. Do you stand by that assertion?
I never made that assertion, and the judge granted the motion, Senator.
He granted the motion, but he disagreed with your premise that it was unreviewable. Let me ask you, are decisions to dismiss cases, as with that one, unreviewable?
The text of Rule 48 requires, in the instances presented by the Adams case, that dismissal only be provided for with leave of the court. That's as near a quote as I can give you, and the entire brief that I submitted acknowledged that point because we were seeking the leave.
Mr. Bove, I am concerned about the quid pro quo that the judge concluded had been done. In fact, he said everything here smacks of a bargain. Everything here smacks of a bargain. But the quid pro quo that really concerns me is the one that brings you here today. You were virtually the only attorney in the Department of Justice willing to go to court and make a claim that career prosecutors said violated their basic standard of ethics. And the quid pro quo was a nomination to the Court of Appeals. That's the appearance that the American people can take away from your sitting before us with that nomination. And I think it does grave damage to respect for the rule of law, notwithstanding your assertions about your adherence to it, for you to be here as a result of that stand by you. Let me ask you about a separate issue, the firing of prosecutors and investigators who were involved in the January 6th prosecutions. You were involved in purging prosecutors who, in good faith and an exercise of their prosecutorial judgment, they went to court, they brought charges, you purged them. Isn't that correct?
I don't agree with the use of the word purged, Senator.
Well, you fired them.
I authorized the termination of probationary employees at that U.S. Attorney's Office, yes.
Because they prosecuted the January 6th rioters.
No, because I was concerned about efforts in the prior administration to embed those prosecutors as permanent employees at the U.S. Attorney's Office.
And you also fired the FBI investigators involved in the January 6th prosecution, correct?
No, that's not accurate.
You worked with Director Patel in firing them, correct?
No, that's not accurate.
Senator Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to pivot away from the Democrats' fake outrage.
And let's not forget the hypocrisy. Democrats are crying foul over Boie's nomination while they rubber-stamped some of the least qualified nominees in history under Biden. Remember the judge who didn't even know what a Brady motion was? Or the one with no federal court experience who couldn't answer basic constitutional questions? These people were fast-tracked to lifetime appointments. But now they want to block Emil Boie, a man who has dedicated his life to upholding the law. What's even more disturbing is how the left is weaponizing the justice system. They've accused Boie of political retribution for firing prosecutors involved in January 6 cases. But let's be clear, these are the same prosecutors who've been targeting Trump supporters while ignoring real threats to our country. Boie has made it clear that he stands for equal justice under the law, not partisan witch hunts. And then there's the nonsense about Mayor Adams. The left wants you to believe Boie struck a corrupt deal to drop charges against Adams in exchange for political favors. But here's the truth. The motion to dismiss those charges was granted because it was a valid exercise of prosecutorial discretion. There was no quid pro quo, and even Adams' own lawyers have confirmed that. This is just another baseless attack to discredit a man who stands for justice. Patriots, this is about more than just one nominee. This is about protecting the integrity of our courts and ensuring that the rule of law is upheld. The left wants activist judges who will push their radical agenda, not impartial jurists who will follow the Constitution. We cannot let them win. Share this video with everyone you know. Let them see the truth about Emil Boie and the left's attempts to destroy him. Let's send a message loud and clear. We stand for justice, fairness, and the rule of law. Subscribe to Conservative Mandate now and join the fight to defend our courts, our Constitution, and our country. Together, we will hold the line against the radical left and protect the America we love. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.